You heard me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today, day. Success. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come on to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful night. Hanging out with us with our celebrity star who celebrated his birthday yesterday, Roderick F. Daly, and Mr. John Sampson. So, good evening. How did you celebrate, Mr. Man?
Well, before I even get started with that, I wanted to say welcome everyone to the midweek of the Village Radio Talk Show. Joining us, where we are dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. Catch us on YouTube at the Village Radio Talk Show link. Make sure you hit and subscribe. We're on a mission, right? We're on a mission to get 1,000 followers by April 1st. Andre, can you tell us what number we're up to? You hit us up on Facebook on John L. Sampson, Dr. Joanne Bryant, myself, Roderick F. Daly, Sophia Willissy, our producer, and Andre Doman, our executive producer. Hit us up there as well. We love and enjoy your company. So I just want to thank you guys for being part of the Village and what it is that we're doing to ensure that the community is having a great time and opportunity for all of you. So thank you for being part of the Village. Come January, remember our task is to get to 1,000 subscribers by April 1st, right? Let's do April 2nd in case people say April Fools, right? April 2nd. All right, so by April 2nd, so please share and ask people to join. We appreciate that. John, what's going on? I hear you, Dr. Brand. I'm going to answer your question, but right, John, how you doing?
We can't hear you. What's going on with your?
You.
All right, now we hear you. Good evening, John. How are you? You good?
Turn up the volume.
We can hear you when. Oh, you can't hear Dr. Bryan?
No,
I hear y'all guys very faintly.
before.
Well, I'm all right. Let's get to the show. Let's go.
So first and foremost, let me just tell you right now.
The host of the most.
No.
Go ahead.
Birthday. Outside of thanking God, right? Outside of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to. Oh, people might get tired of me saying I'm thanking God, right? You have no idea. Well, that's not true. I am extremely excited about number 51.
All right. You getting up there, baby.
That's true. So Andre, you don't have to put that in a private chat. Put that in a public chat, right? We're at 209. So that means we have a long road to go, right? But you can do it to get us to 1,000, right? So we're at 209. By the end of the show, hopefully we got 210, right, Dr. Brian? Because you're going to put it out there so that we have at least 210 subscribers to the station. If you need, we could send you the link and you could have it right in our Facebook page. Like stamp it right on the Facebook page to get us to that link. I'm excited because this birthday, my parents came up from Georgia. Let me tell you the story.
Wait, good evening to all our listeners. Thank you, Empress, for the shout out, the birthday shout out to the hosts. And thank you for joining us, all our listeners. Ebony, Nadia, Shah Boogie, and those that we cannot see, if you didn't put it in the chat, thank you for joining us this evening. Go ahead, birthday boy.
Right. So let me tell you what my wife did, right? My father called me at about 10:30, 11 o'clock yesterday morning, right? That bum called me and he goes, yeah, I'm thinking about sending you a cake for your birthday. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Send me a piece of carrot cake, because that's my favorite cake. All the audience out there, carrot cake, my favorite cake, right?
Okay.
Right? But if there's a black cake, it's the dry black cake, not the wet one. But anyway, so he called me up and he's like, yeah, right? So I had an engagement to go to, a wedding reception to go to for 2 o'clock. So at about 12:30, I'm jumping in the shower, getting ready. I'm on the phone talking, I'm getting a birthday call. So I'm excited. I'm calling, I'm talking, right? My wife is like, what are you doing upstairs? Come downstairs. Get off the phone. I'm like,
you got to make the faces too?
Yeah, I was making the phones. Well, I couldn't see her faces, right? So then I'm like, honey, I'm just on the phone. I'm just returning phone calls. You're lobbying on the phone all day. So I go into the
she damn right.
Right? So I go into the bedroom. I hear the doorbell ring, right? So, but I'm expecting my brother to come by to pick up the young lady to take her to the wedding reception. So I'm like, it's not a big deal, right? I paid attention. I heard it though. So I'm lotioning up. Yes, I do lotion, John. I'm not always ashy. So I'm lotioning up.
Try that. Tell that to your ankles.
Yeah, and my knees, right? So I was like, all right. So I'm like, all right, I'm coming. I go downstairs, bam, there's this cake on the table. There's big cake. Like the cake is literally that big, right? And happy birthday, Rudy, mom and dad, and 2 pieces of black cake on the side. I'm cussing my parents because I'm like, it got to be black cake, right? It got to be black cake. It got to be carrot cake, not black cake. And the part of the cake was chocolate, part was sponge cake. So I'm like, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. My wife goes, so you want a cup of tea? Damn Jamaicans and the English people West Indians loving the damn cup of tea, right? I'm like, yeah, I'll get a cup of tea. I walk into the living room. There, my mom and dad standing, hiding by the sink. Yo, I got to tell you, John, right? I got to tell you, if I just looked in the mirror in the dining room, I would have seen them. But, that's what
they saw you being crabby anyway.
Yeah, no, but it was very excited. I was very happy. We went to Italian for dinner. We hung out. A lot of Facebook, social media love on the birthday. That was very exciting. So I was extremely pleased. So birthday was awesome. I'm actually with the birthday party that I had back in 2020.
You mean last year, 2020?
No, 2020. 2021, I had a Zoom party. That was the 2020 Zoom party was great too. Yeah. But the 2020 party, like my last 5 birthdays have been, way to talk about. So the birthday party was phenomenal. So I enjoyed
Aruba, it. You talking about last year?
No, Aruba was great. No, I'm saying my last 5 birthdays I think have been fantabulous. My wife has done a yeoman's job in ensuring that My birthdays are awesome. I'm not as great as reciprocity, but her birthday party 2 years ago was nice. The 49. Her was it 2 years ago? No, it was 2 years. Was it this year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
It was
It
2 years
wasn't
ago.
last year. It was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So that was good. I'm trying to figure out what this is a big year for her. I'm trying to, Dr. Bryant, maybe you could convince her that we could do something for her big birthday. So first of all, I want to thank all my Facebook people for all of the messages. I did try to answer some of them today. Didn't get to them, but man, I feel loved. I feel loved. Anyway, that's it. All right. What's going on with you?
Well, there's a lot of birthdays. You, my godfather, my uncle. I think Shy Boogie was also this week. So a lot of birthdays. Shout out to all the January birthdays. You guys start off the year. You bring the fire, and towards June.
As we should. Forget about June.
We set it up. Yeah, we set it up.
Yeah. June is like,
don't go there. Don't go there.
Especially like the 17th and the 19th of June,
The 17th and the 19th. I don't know who's the 19th. No,
the 15th and the 17th.
Oh,
the 15th and the 17th. Yeah,
well,
those like bum days,
So two of your hosts born in June, and then you're gonna talk crap. Okay.
Yeah, the bum days, bum days.
It's all good. And shout out to our producer. Last week was his birthday. Last week, Wednesday, Andre. We didn't get a chance to shout him out, but
we did. Oh yeah, we didn't.
Yeah. We did not get a chance to shout him out. Andre.
It was actually Andre's fault anyway. So it doesn't matter. Oh, that's why he did it. That's why he did it. Because you never see smoke without fire. That bum. He didn't want us to. He told us, well, since we have to have a team meeting, right? Since we had to have a team meeting, we couldn't do it. We had to put in a rerun for the show, but we didn't realize. Get on screen here, Mr. Executive Producer. Because I just realized you purposely didn't have a show last week. So that
Good evening, James.
Right?
Good evening, Dawn. Thank you for joining us.
In case you didn't hear us, we're trying to make sure that we get to 1,000 subscribers to YouTube by April 2. So please log into, if you need the link, Andre put it on the screen, or put it on a Facebook page so that people can just click on the link, post it, send it out there, right? So that people can look at it. As soon as you start talking about Andre's birthday, he wrote, "Get on topic." Look at him.
But it's true. We have a busy evening.
No. I do agree, but every time you start talking about this, get on topic. I don't want to talk about birthday. I want to.
It's okay. He's private. He understands that. You don't.
No, I don't.
So a lot's going on. And what was interesting this evening, I heard about investigation on nurses that actually brought their license but are really not certified from a school in Florida. So that's kind of scary.
Wait. Everything's scary to you. Listen,
I don't want somebody practicing or taking care of me and they don't know what the heck they're doing. Okay?
I told
it's important when I go to the hospital that I know that you spend your time in training. You know how to make sure you take,
Wait, John, what do we call Joanne again, Dr. Bryant? We call her what? The conspiracy theorist? That's the second name, the conspiracy theorist. Yeah.
John's not going to answer that. John's not going to answer that. So you on your own. And Andre's not going to answer that. And Sophia, you on your own. Okay.
Because they're all a bunch of punks when it comes to you. Why are they such a punk when it comes to you? Yeah. Why are they all such a punk?
Can we stay on topic, Mr. Daly? Thank you.
Wait. So saying that you're a punk to what she.
Why do we have to be called punks? Why do you?
So rude.
Why do you have to use?
Such positive words,
bullying languages. You trying to bully us?
Bullying languages, man. So that's in all seriousness, though. When you think about it, it's actually kind of scary, right?
When you
one
go
of
into
the
the
things
hospital, you don't want somebody who don't know how to do or take a shot or give you a shot or a needle or taking your temperature and you're passing out because they're squeezing too hard. So
I'm not going to agree with that part, right? Right? I agree. This is what I agree with, right? When I go and I do public speaking, I
mhm,
talk about the importance of credentials, right? You're a professional. I'm a professional. John is a professional, right?
mhm,
I, so behind my name, I have MED, SBL, SDL, and ME and some other things behind my title, behind my name, right?
mhm,
You have PhD behind your name,
mhm,
right? If John has JD behind his name, right? When you have a conversation with one of us about our personal profession, either me as a building leader or you as an educator on the state level or whatever the case is, right?
mhm.
People hold your signature hostage. You get what I'm saying? So it's not that another person doesn't know doesn't know education or doesn't know nursing or doesn't know law, but not having that signature behind their name, right, is where it's at. So somebody could actually, a bush doctor knows what to do, right? But we trust the medical doctor more, even though the bush doctor might know more than
I don't want somebody experimenting on me,
no,
period.
it's not about experimenting though. Is it really about
They
experiment?
mentioned they mentioned that some of the people don't have any background in the healthcare industry. So that
And
is a
that
problem.
part is a problem. Yeah.
It is a problem
Yeah,
because
that I agree with.
you
I don't
don't
want somebody,
know
you're
who's
right,
who.
right.
So yeah, you only have one life, and experimenting and trying and trial. I understand everybody's trying to make sure they get a living and they survive, but just do it right. Especially when it comes to health, when it comes to food, when it comes to certain profession, go out and do what you need to do. Don't shortchange. But let's move on.
Right. I'm John, what's your point? What is your take on that?
I have no take at this point in time.
Okay.
Right. Unfortunately, so many people out there, even with a lot of jobs, they take shortcuts.
But I do have a take. I mean, everybody wants to take shortcuts, but at the same time, it's a lot of those home remedies, a lot of medicine, a lot of today's medicine has derived from those homemade remedies, those homeopathic remedies,
Mm-hmm.
which were the genesis of some of the medication that we have today.
Yeah, that's true because a lot of I've learned in my journey that many of the medicines that we take come from the earth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people have done their studies, they might not have the medical background because sometimes it's also financial, right? It's also financial why you can't afford to go to medical school or can't afford to go to
Of
nursing school,
course.
but you have the thirst for learning and understanding. Hey, I just want to tell thank you Ruby, thank you Star Girl for the birthday wishes. Ija, Empress Daniel, thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you. Keep them coming. I'm celebrating until the end of the month, January 31st. So just keep them coming. Happy
Before
birthday.
our first guest come on, let's quickly discuss shout out to our mayor. He's trying his best,
He had a
but
meeting today.
huh?
He had a meeting today. The state of the city address today.
Okay.
You
So
know,
tell us about it.
I didn't actually. I had chemo today, so I didn't go. But
Oh,
somebody from my board did. John, did you go?
No, I didn't go.
Yeah. If somebody on the call that went, want to talk about it, or seen clips from the news, you want to talk about it. We didn't get a chance to see it on the air. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris, for the birthday wish.
so
If anybody saw any of it, let us know.
I know that he's trying to tackle a lot of things by going to DC, going to Texas, trying to address the mayor's conference and grappling the migrant situation. So there's a lot on his plate. The crime up here, and also the fact that the city is losing a lot of workers. So there's a lot happening. Do you think that it's important for him to tackle everything at once, or to share out some of the responsibilities with others?
Others, who are the others?
I don't know. He has people he hires.
No, I'm saying, who are the
Do
others?
he have to
Others-
go? Do you think it was important for him to go to Texas to go and check out Texas?
Yeah, I think that was important.
I think
Yeah.
it's important.
Okay,
Go
why?
ahead, John. I'm sorry.
I think you know we can talk. You can talk about the experience, but when you have to see it for yourself, then you realize what other people have been talking about and understand that the impact that the huge influx of migrants has on that specific county or city in Texas. And I think that's one thing it's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to experience it and actually be in that surroundings. And you can see what the Governor Abbott has talked about, the other governors have talked about with the huge influx of migrants, and you understand it. You understand it more. So I think it was important for him to go there.
Well,
I think to add to that, I always believe that there's the practicum or the theory and the practice,
Right.
The practicum is just an exam, right? The theory is what we make up based upon this, blah, 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 blah. This should happen. Guess what? Right? When you see it in person, the intangibles you can't fathom.
Nope.
Right? So both of them need to come to New York, right? So Scott Perry need to come to New York to see the impact, the financial. That's one of the things that we want to talk about, the financial impact that it has on the city. While Adams need to see the physical impact that it has on certain specific cities in Texas. So, yeah, you're right, John.
And I think by you doing that, this is not a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue. So people need to come together to really try to resolve it. And the whole issue everybody has is they don't want, because it's all about immigration reform. You have to reform the laws in order to really get the full effect of immigration. You have to change the system. Not you have to change the system. You have to basically support the system. Status quo is what they want. Everybody wants status quo because, Republicans always are afraid of new immigrants coming in, especially they're from the African diaspora and people of color, because they figure that they're losing their base, they're losing their vote totals. But if we're talking about Europeans coming across, it's all a fine issue. So immigration has become so polarized, and it is very disappointing to see that it has become such a hotbed issue when it's a very simple solution, a very, very simple solution.
What's the solution?
About dealing with it. First of all, change provide support in the immigration laws, change them where a change is needed. Then we have to look at those countries in which these migrants are coming from, and how can we as United States help bolster their infrastructure so those migrants feel they have an opportunity where their country is. Because they come to America because it's the land of opportunity. They're tired of living in poverty, abject poverty. They're tired of that. And they want another opportunity. When you walk 50, 100, 200 miles to come to America, your determination is to have a better life for your family. So
That's true.
that work ethic in and of itself, we have to admire that work ethic. that determination to come to America.
That no matter what, right? Which is so true. That no matter what, you're gonna make it happen.
At any means necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Wait, let me read this comment. I live in Texas. From what I know of its residents, it is very important for him to physically go there. Thank you for your comments. Thank you everyone for giving your comments. Carlene, thank you. Happy birthday, Roger. We love you. Ruby, hi, Sister Carlene. Jalen, text me to tell you happy birthday, Roderick. True. Exactly, John, Simone, and then one more. And I think our guest is here. Republican won't like helping other countries. They will say people here need help. Once again, from Texan, they are hating that millions is going to Ukraine.
But no, it is true. You know, we need to. You know, one thing I say about former President Trump, it was America first. We need to take care of. A lot of people saying we need to. We're sending so much money over to Ukraine. What about bolstering our system over here? Those who are, but it's the same thing. They talk about the migrants. You're doing so much for the migrants,
And
so
not
we
the homeless here.
Exactly. But you can, you know, the mayor's put in a difficult situation, but he's managing in this difficult situation. So sometimes, you know, cream rises to the top, and this is one instance where, you know, what he is doing, and most of all, what he's talking about, is bringing national attention to this whole migrant issue and forcing both
billions
sides,
to Ukraine.
forcing both sides to deal with the issue of immigration.
You know,
But you know what? Ukraine is important too now. I can understand that, but strategically, Ukraine is important. And what Ukraine has shown us is that Russia is not, when it comes to the ground game, Russia is not all that powerful, you know. So it comes to light. It came to light how strong militarily, the military strength of Russia, of the Russians. It's questionable. It's questionable.
You know, Hazra Ali, one of our who's listening in,
Big H always. Hazra always got something to say.
Right? She
what you got to say?
She just wrote that on the mayor, while it's impromptu delegate to get, I'm sorry, I think she's important to delegate to get more done. I think that's what you were saying, Dr. Brian. The job he deems important, he must handle himself. So ultimately, he is the leader of what's happening, and so he has to take the initiative to ensure that the leadership component, he has to have a hold on it. And
because at the end of the day, they're not going to be looking at the delegates. They're going to be looking at him.
Yep, for the job not done. You know, Jalen, I want to, before we go on to our guest, before we go to our commercial and then to our guest, I want to make sure that Jalen knows that, you know, I do appreciate you listening in, because you're learning a lot from the show, and you're going to help John with making sure that he uses language that you can understand, right? And learn from, right? And John is a very educated young man. So you're going to learn, if you want to be an attorney, an educator, a civic person, whatever you want to do, you're going to learn.
You're going to learn how to not to use profanity when you're speaking.
Right. So that's important. What did JL write? JL wrote, it's not, let's go to the commercial first. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We're sponsored by the Single Parent University. Open admission starts now. Course curriculum, personal development, mindful parenting, support seminar, financial management, nutrition and wellness. They offer free childcare, free transportation, free support, social support hub. You know what? Everything is free. So just join them in and see what they offer. Do call them and find out. The number is 646-779-6767, or text SBU to 71441. Again, Single Parent University, talking about all the things to help you out. And just for the record, I just want to let everybody know, I know this personally, that the organization has been given close to $1 million, and part of it is to make this happen. And there are a lot of people who are utilizing it. So why don't you utilize this as well? So Single Parent University, 646-779-6767. Thank you so much. JL wrote, Andre can bring on the guests. I'll just read the comment. JL wrote, it is not primarily about saving Ukraine. It's about avoid what Hitler did, evade the rest of Europe, at which juncture the U.S. would need to decide whether World War III would happen or not. So, thank you for tuning in. Dr. Holaman, how are you doing?
Good evening. I'm good. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, doctor. Good evening.
John,
Yes.
did you know that Dr. Holaman is a fellow bombardier like you and I?
My 11 in the house always.
Oh my, yeah, man. I had the pleasure of teaching her daughter, Jordan, right? And so it's very excited, ambitious family. We my 11 people are
I don't know.
ambitious.
Jordan would say that it was beneficial to her. I don't know if Jordan would say that.
Jordan
She was
and
the
I-
valedictorian.
Yeah, there you go. So
That's not no help to Rudy.
Jordan was pretty awesome. She was a very by the way, just for the record, my 11 people come from good breed. That's what we are. Right.
So good stock, definitely. I agree with you.
Yeah, so we strive to. Oh, I'm sorry, Monique. Let me just say this before I forget, because you're here and I don't want to forget. Just want to shout out a little prayer for Eddie Gentile. He was a teacher while you were there, Monique.
He was my drama teacher in English.
Yes, and he was Jordan's principal, my boss as a principal as well. He just had undergoing a mild procedure on the heart, and we just want to wish him a speedy recovery. He's also an avid watcher of the show.
Yeah, sending love to him.
Yeah, so just want to make sure before I forget, I want to extend our prayer out to him. So, Monique.
Yes.
Dr. Brian has a question for you.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us this evening. And thank you, Angela, for joining us as well. So please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, my name is Monique Holaman. I am an attorney. I currently work at in Supreme Court, 360 Adams, and I currently handle all of the statutory mandatory conferences for foreclosures in Brooklyn. And that's what I currently do. But I born and raised in Brooklyn. I grew up in East Flatbush. Like Roderick said, I went to my 11, then I went to John Jay, and then I actually left.
PS233. That's for John and I went to PS230, not John, but I went to PS233 too.
I went to PS233
I went to
too.
PS233.
I went there too.
I went to PS233.
There you
All
go.
right, can we move on from the PS233 and let's go?
So okay, well, I gotta start over. I gotta say PS233.
No.
Right, look. And then my babysitter. No, I'm just joking. But nonetheless, and then I went to Spelman College for my undergrad degree, and I actually lived in Atlanta for a while. I was in the financial sector for a number of years, working for Wachovia Bank, but I had always wanted to go to law school, and I came back and I attended Fordham Law. And once I came out of Fordham, I came out at a really crazy time. I was probably thinking initially about going into law and finance, but it was 2008. The economy was crazy. And so I ended up working for a boutique law firm for a few years, doing some criminal matters, some civil matters, some family law matters. And then after about a year and a half, I ended up, I started off in Supreme Court as an assistant court attorney. And I've been there ever since, and just sort of moving up in different areas, touching a number of different areas within the court system and the parts that default judgment, guardianships, mental hygiene. So a number of different areas, consumer debt. And now I'm currently doing mostly foreclosures. And I'm also doing a new part that was created, which is for partitions in cases where there are airships.
So my question to you is, when is the run for judgeship?
The run for judgeship is now. I'm actually currently a judicial candidate for civil court, and I am going through that process now. And it's been an interesting one. I'm learning a lot about the community. It's a county-wide vacancy, which means that anyone in Brooklyn can vote for me. I would be on the ballot. That you'll see in the primary if there's a challenge, and if not, then you'll definitely see me in November.
What's very interesting is, I remember back in the day where lawyers of color could not run county-wide for judgeships. They had to run district-wide. And it just shows you how the demographics has changed in Brooklyn. I think for the last 10 years, and plus, I think since when Clarence Norman was the county leader, that's when judges started running county-wide instead of district-wide.
Yes.
And all because of the demographics have changed in Brooklyn.
And so everyone, if, I'm in I go to a lot of different events, but you will always hear them speak of Clarence Norman as basically changing the game as it pertains to that. I actually saw him the other day, but it's, he's a legend for that and changing the game. So it is a countywide seat. I do think that district seats are important as well. The difference is just that you really have to get out there and see all the different parts of Brooklyn. And I do think that it's an interesting time, sitting in on some of the community board meetings and understanding some of the needs and wants, of our community. Sometimes when you don't do that, you're very limited and you're only thinking about what you're interested in. But as you sort of go out there and you see more people and you see different legislation that they're looking to pass, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or, oh, okay. Obviously, as a judicial candidate, I'm pretty neutral on most of, when it comes to legislation and policies, because you never know what you may be, what may get in front of you. But it's important to just have an understanding of what your community wants and needs.
Love it. I absolutely love it. First of all, congrats for taking that leap to say, hey, I'm gonna go for it. It definitely gives us a lot, like John was mentioning. There wasn't too many of us as judges, but you actually motivate others to go into it. So thank you for being one of the leaders for taking that leap. So shout out to you for that. And Spelman all the way.
I told you I went to Spelman, right?
Oh, you went there too?
Oh yeah. Just to check out the ladies, right?
No, my girlfriend at the time went to Spelman.
What did I say? To check out the ladies.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
So and my aunt, whose guest is coming on next, she went to was it Morris Brown or Clark? No, Morris Brown. Which one is next to us? Moorhead, Morris Brown.
They're all in the same as the AC. So it was Clark is right next. I mean, Clark is right there.
She went to Morris Brown because Moorhead is for the guys and she didn't go to Spelman. So Morris Brown went for two people. So I remember that. So I have a couple questions. I don't know if you can answer this one question first. The first question is, do you want to tell us who you work for now as a court judge? Can you disclose that or no?
Yes, well, so I can disclose who I work for, but I actually don't work for a judge right now. So
if you paid attention, Roderick, that's what she said, Roderick. Pay attention, brother.
So normally, what happens is,
you work for the court system. I heard that, but I don't know.
She said she works she does foreclosure.
Yes.
Right. Listen, you didn't pay attention, Roderick.
I did pay attention, but sometimes we know that we say certain things to leave it out there, as opposed to being because she might not want to say that she works for a judge in the foreclosure
Well,
division.
okay, so you guys are both right. Let me just clarify. So initially, I started out working for the Honorable Ellen Spodek, and that was in one part. I was in Supreme Court. Afterwards, the job was only for it's like a max of 3 years. I was assistant law clerk, and then you move on, and then you become a principal for someone. Instead of doing that, they actually created a position for me in the law department where I was assigned to the law department, but I was on loan to a judge. And that judge that I was working with was the Honorable Noah Deer. The Honorable Noah Deer, when we first started, we worked in civil court and we were over all of consumer debt. And we were also doing foreclosures in Kings County. So any sort of student loans, any sort of credit card debt, we were over all of those types of debts. Then he advanced to Supreme Court, and I followed him there as well, still not working for him directly, but basically on loan to him. And we started doing solely foreclosures. So we were over all of the residential foreclosures in Brooklyn. In 2020, Judge Deere passed away from COVID.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know he passed.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
He passed away from COVID. We had been working together for a number of years. We had made a lot of breakthroughs with just making sure that defendants had proper legal services. We had worked with a lot of the agencies like Grow Brooklyn and the City Bar, and just to make sure that there was someone in our courtroom in case litigants were pro se. So there was a lot of, push for just making sure that the playing field was even, right? Because every plaintiff has an attorney, every bank has an attorney, but every defendant didn't have an attorney. And a lot of things happen there, right? People get summons and complaints, they just don't answer and so forth. Nonetheless, with all of those things and strides that we made, when Justice Deere passed away, we were sort of left with this gap. We had to bring a new judge in that obviously would have had someone else, had their own court attorney, and it was requested by the defense bar and a number of other people if I can continue on. So what happened is that instead of me, which is what would have normally happened, being assigned to another judge, what they did is the part in which it's a statutory guideline that if you go through foreclosure in a residential foreclosure and you live there, that owner occupied, that you have to go through a certain settlement conference. I am handling all of those settlement conferences. So I meet with each individual and try to see if I can settle the case before it gets into motion practice. And on my phone calls, because they're still virtual, at this time, I've continued the practice of having one of the agencies on the call. So when I send out invitations, I send out information on how they can answer the complaint. I send out information on what the process is, and I also send out a list of legal services. If they don't take, if they don't go ahead and kind of follow up before they get to the actual call, then I still have someone on the call at the time that they can speak to. I mean, and if they choose to utilize it, that's great. Most of them do. And, I've tried to make a concerted effort to make sure that we're actually getting defendants, because during COVID, I was responsible for making all of the calls during COVID because we wanted to make sure that, people were dying, people were going other places to live, it was just crazy. And we wanted to make sure if people had hardships that we were staying those cases and that people weren't, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and that they would be
Worried about that.
focusing on the foreclosure. So the court system as a whole, just policy, had put a moratorium, but we also wanted more information to make sure that we could speak to people and sort of see, like, there might be some people who still wanted to resolve. So, hey, let's get that handled. So that's just the continuous process. So you're both right. It's not a secret whatever judge I work for, but currently at this point, I'm kind of just doing my own thing. I have my own part, and I'm just trying to make the process a little easier.
And one thing I can say, yeah. You're gonna be a good politician as a judge because you made sure that we were both right when I know Roger was wrong.
Let me ask you, would you say that there's more of an increase in the foreclosure process now or in 2008, comparing that whole crash that happened? Or would you say there's an increase or a decrease, or is it about the same?
Well, I think it's different, right? I mean, I wasn't in the system in 2008, so I'm not as
Do you
aware.
have the
Um,
information from 2008, like, for example, the statistics based on
I don't
that?
I don't have the full statistics, but I can
Mhm,
give you, so what happened is when that crashed and at that time, what I will say is that the programs in place and some of the things that they had like interest rates, I won't say 2008 per se, but like 2000 um
7,
10,
2000.
11, 12, like there were the interest rates were fluctuating. So there were always a number of different foreclosures, but the difference was that we weren't really as aware because the foreclosures were spread across all judges in the Supreme Court system, right? So you wouldn't have known how many there were because every judge had a few. When we came into the Supreme Court, what they did was they sort of brought all of the cases in under a certain judge, only about 3 or 4 judges, and the reason was for the decisioning to be more streamlined, because when you have about 20 different judges making decisions, you have some cases that are being handled this way, you have this person
Mhm,
deciding
mhm,
them this way, you have some who are
mhm,
like, I hate foreclosures, you have some who are like, oh, they didn't pay their bill. I mean, you're getting everyone's, but the reality is that there are laws in place, there are things that need to be followed and guidelines, and by streamlining it, to we have better metrics,
mhm.
um, to sort of make those numbers at the point that we started it, because we had all of them. I mean, when and I say all of them, I mean, again, owner occupied residential foreclosure.
So I remember in 2007, 2008, a lot of the loans that was being written during that time were inflated. Many of the people could not afford it. A lot of fraudulent activities were happening big time. So some people lost their home, and a lot of the mortgage company were not even stationed in like New York. We had a lot of out of the country mortgage, and some of the companies came back. So during foreclosure, if you're fighting, a bank, the bank, it got sold over so many times that you couldn't keep up with who actually owned the loan. And sometimes
So
I know in Atlanta and also in New York, if I can't remember, Aquin was the name of one of the companies that would come in, and they would just take over. And when they come in, you might come and your house is locked and you could go to court or whatever, but it was being funded um in India. You had all different big time money that was backed up, and the banks couldn't do anything about it. So it was a lot of behind the scene grimy situation that even if people went to court, they still got screwed. So that's what was happening in 2007, 2008, and
so
even the beginning of
so to put
2001.
things into perspective, right?
Mhm,
When I went to law school, I was working for Washington Mutual as a loan consultant. At
mhm.
that time, they were doing no stated they were doing stated docs,
And
they were
yeah,
doing all of those
non-doc.
things.
Mhm.
They were also, they also had the type of loans where you had options for payments.
Right.
So you could do, you could pay 15 years interest and,
And then
you
later
can
on,
pay
right,
you
refinance.
can pay 30-year principal and interest. You could
Mhm,
pay interest only. And then they had one that was less than. And those
mhm,
actually, those types of loans, those option arms and things like that were really supposed to be geared towards individuals who had volatile incomes, right? Like if you're on a commission, if you're
mhm,
commission based, so that when you had great months, you pay what? The 15-year principal and interest, you pay bigger. And when you had a horrible month, you could pay this option, but it should have balanced out. what was happening is that, you know, you were kind of going through the process of people were getting option arms who were like a teacher, you know what I mean, whose income is the same. And then what happens? You pay, the only thing you're doing is you're paying the smallest amount the whole time, right? And then what would you have is like negative amortization. And so that was one of the big issues that was happening. So you could almost see where what happened in 2008 was going to happen, right? And it was they had different things. So somebody just said it, but to that point, a lot of the things that what you were saying are accurate. There was robo signing. There were all these things that was happening. There was legislation put in, right? And a lot of those things, which is why I'm saying that as we came into it, legislation has changed to where the robo signing, there were a number of law firms and law firms and banks that no longer were able to move forward on cases. So they started kind of cracking down on those things. And the same way that I'm saying to you that I do these mandatory settlement conferences, all of that is new legislation that's come into place. So if someone, you know, if you get a summons and complaint and you don't answer, there are notices that are required now. There are things that have to be done, and they're statutory. And all of those things happen through
legislation
through the court, through decisions where it went up to the appellate division and so on the Court of Appeals. So all of these things came in place after. So when so all of those things happened sort of after that. And then that required, you know, you can't just be a third party purchaser without showing that you have the actual note. You know, you can't do these things. So those are things that are that are continuously going on now. And legislation as it pertains to foreclosures is still a hot item. And there are a number of different things that are in the works, as you know, different people are going back and forth with legislation. So it's ever changing, it's always evolving. And you know, some things depend on just where we are and who our community leaders are, who our not district leaders necessarily, but you know, who the senators are, you know, and those are the people that we have to take an active role in contacting. That's why, you know, it's important to be on community boards and things of that nature so that you have that input. So that's
active. Yep.
You know what's important in all of this is, you know, my biggest gripe with judges has always been, you know, they want us to support them when they're running for office. They come to the churches, they come to the communities. But when they get on that bench, they get amnesia of those same people that they went and solicited support from. So that's one of my biggest gripes. And I've seen...
Monique, I'm going to defend the judges.
Well, wait, before you say that, understand that the interesting thing about being a judge is the reality is that they aren't politicians, right? There isn't a stance that they're able to take, because the whole point is that we should be impartial and unbiased. I understand your point, because I do think there needs to be the awareness of the community as decisions are being made. But the reality is that there's both sides. So the same way, you know, when it comes to criminal law, proven until, you know, innocent until proven guilty, or, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt. And you have all these things. It's sort of the same thing with a plaintiff. You know, we can look at, it really has to come down to the laws and the policies, and it can't be emotional. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it has to be emotional. What I'm saying is like, when you sit on that bench, your overview needs to be global. It just not, you know, we can go to the law. You can go to the law, and if you want to be a strict constructionist of the law, you can be. But these laws were written, some of these laws, they talk about the Constitution, was written at a time where things have evolved and things have changed. So you have to have a broader outlook on things, because things have changed. And when you look at it, it's a perfect example when you look at criminal court judges who have 440 motions come before them about people who've been incarcerated for 25, 30 years. And next thing you know, you have newly discovered evidence, which before it existed, but some judges didn't look at it in that way. So what I'm saying is, yes, the law, but never forget that your approach has to be, more expansive than just the law. Because I can write a decision based upon the law, but sometimes everything is not in the four corners of the law.
So I agree with John, and I'm going to be you, Monique, in terms of what John said earlier about being a politician, right? There's a community cry, right? A lot, right? We see a lot of abuse going on. The bail reform, how that has been
a nightmare,
a total disaster, right? But you as a judge have to follow what we talk about, have to follow the law to a T. And in terms of advocacy for those laws, right? How would we go about changing those? But on the flip side of that, excuse me, going back to the comment that was being made, was that, once you become judge, you have 1 year to go back to the community. And I think it's 1 year that you can go back and make conversations with the community, go to fundraisers, thank people. But after that year, the remaining 9 years, the remaining 8 years, you can't do nothing. And then the year you're going to run again is when it can become into the public. So it genuinely goes back to what John was saying with that.
Well, so I will say this, right? I guess, I think, well, because what I was going to say is just, I think you're talking two different things. You're right. Like when you're running, there's a certain amount of time that you can do that, but you can always be in the community. I mean, as a judge, you're still a person. You can still be part of nonprofits. You can still be part of programs. So, I mean, that's a personal decision. So, I mean, John, if you're talking about individuals, because again, there isn't a promise that I can make, like, oh yeah, you're going to get these things when I'm a judge. No, you can't make a promise.
No, you can't.
But I agree that you can be consistently still present in your community and still be aware and, commit yourself to programs and things where you may be helpful. And I say that to say, there was a program quite a few years ago, maybe like in 2015, where the DA's office was doing Begin Again programs. And there were judges sitting at churches basically helping people get rid of warrants, because there was this time where there were all of these individuals being pulled over, and then there was like issues happening solely because someone had a random warrant. And you had these Begin Again programs but you had actual judges going in and going through these processes, so you can take an active role in your community in a fair way that's impartial, that's unbiased, that still, reflects a commitment to the community.
That's all I'm saying.
So while you're saying that, what are some programs you think? I know you'll win, right? I know you'll win, right? Because you're my 11 bombardier. So
that's all there is.
That's all it is.
Not PS233.
No, PS233 my 11. Because
hold on, but before you say she's gonna win and all this stuff, man, no. You got to go through things like everything else, Are there any?
No. We know that, John. We know that the endorsement of the village alone. By the way, the village has not endorsed a candidate who has lost. So I'm just telling that.
But we don't endorse candidates. Am I correct?
But Roderick does.
Okay.
Roderick does, right? As Roderick Daly, I can, but not as the village or the community board chair.
Yeah,
right?
please make that clear.
The community board nor the village can endorse any candidate, but I can, so I don't have a problem with that. The question is, we're talking all of that, taking John's question into consideration, taking what you're saying into consideration, taking what I'm saying into consideration. What are some And I did speak specifically one about the bail reforms, right? You have to obey the law, but certain things you can look to say, hey, these are the law. I'm going to enlighten the community off. What are some programs that you feel that from the bench you want to continue to work with to ensure that knowledge is spread so that when they get to you, you don't have this issue?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest issue is exposure, and I don't know if it's necessarily a program. I think there needs to be more. I think that the community needs more access to the justice system, right? And specifically, I would say, there's a lot of mistrust in the justice system, especially um, from minorities. And so I think some of, what I try to do now is even now, and I'm, not a judge, is just being in the community more and understanding the importance of not of, responding to summons and complaints, responding, being present, answering, doing things of that nature. So I think the reality is that there are a lot of things that happen, I would say, with defendants at times, and it had nothing to do with right or wrong. It was just procedural. So I think it's a lot of the things that I've tried to do, and again, judges have been part of that, is, if I worked with one of the churches, and we did an entire foreclosure program to go through the process about foreclosures. Now, at the program, I had the banks there, I had my judge there at the time, I had legal services, and I'm like, look, these are all the different things that are here. And it's interesting because sometimes, um, the biggest piece is just, the biggest piece for the community is just feeling like they're represented, feeling like they're understood, right? And feeling like they have an opportunity to speak. And I think that if you continue to do programs, you can't do any legislation is its own piece, right? That's on, people, like I said before, to get involved in their community boards, writing to their senators, writing to their city councilmen. All of those things need to happen. If we don't recognize that we have a voice, right, and that's important, legislation won't change. But you see, if individuals are really for or against something, and they put effort and they put time into working on that, things can change, and they will change. And so I think from that perspective, it's always about being out in the community, letting people know it's important to vote. How many people know who the judges are that
That's
they're
true.
voting for, right?
That is true.
I'm I Spellman. When I used to go to my ballot when I was 18 or 19, I'm like, oh, that's a cute name.
Yeah, eeny, meeny,
Like,
miny, mo, right?
oh, that sounds like she's nice. It had nothing to do with knowledge. So it's important for us to sort of come out there, and you guys are in a specific situation where you have more knowledge than others because you are more worldly and you focus on community development. But there's so many people that have no idea, that judges were even in the community and that they said anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I think it's important for us to just, you need to know, what do we stand for? What are they somebody that I can relate to? Wow, she's a single mother. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, wow, she did that. Oh, she went to my 11. I went to my. There are things. Wow, that's relatable. And then you're like, is that what's in the court? Oh, because sometimes media or whatever, people have a different idea of what exactly is what the judicial system is.
Now, I have a question. I know you worked in so many different facets of the legal system. Which one is your favorite? Is it still foreclosure? So when you do become a judge, what are you going to focus more on?
Well, as a judge, so here's the thing, right? I'm running for a vacancy in civil court in Kings County. However, when you win, because Roderick said, it's a done deal, right? But the reality is I could go to criminal, I can go to family. You don't have a choice in that.
Okay.
So you actually have, and I think it's important to sort of see all the different areas. So if you were to go into criminal, I mean, you still have
You
to,
need that
I mean,
background.
obviously I went into foreclosure. It would be something where there isn't as much, I need to do in terms of learning, but as an attorney, you're continuously learning. The
Right.
laws continuously change. You're constantly reading, analyzing, doing research. So for any of the parts, I'm pretty open to, I mean, obviously I'm comfortable with civil because that's what I've been doing, but I'm open to, I mean, obviously any of the parts.
So I have a couple. I mean, we only have a couple of minutes left with you. I'm just, making sure that. My producer's getting ready to tell me that our time is almost at the essence. I want you to. You are a Black woman. You're a single mom, and you raised a very productive child, right? She's a therapist now down there in DC, doing a good job. I don't know if she has tuned in because she didn't say hi, so I don't know if she's tuned in.
She actually had a client.
Let's tune in and say hi to Mr. Daly because he looked forward to seeing.
Oh my goodness, please.
But yeah, whatever. I love my students. Leave me alone.
Okay, reach out and call them.
No, that's what the show's for.
Get to the question.
So my question for you is thinking about the inspiration. Not even recognize that you are an inspiration, right? What are some words of wisdom that you're going to leave us with? And then you're going to couple that with how somebody can get in touch with you and be involved in your campaign.
So, I give a lot of credit. I mean, first and foremost, from a spiritual aspect, I really do believe that God has been an amazing, has played such an amazing role in everything in my life. I think that my village, it has been very important. I think it's very important to have, I had my daughter at a young age. I was still finishing college. I was able to finish college on time. I was able to go to law school. My daughter was in my 11 while I was going through law school. And, we would sit down and study together. So I think don't put limitations on yourself. Just don't. I think sometimes we're our worst critics. You think that, I can't. And, I know that Michelle Obama made a comment once and she's like, sometimes we're surrounded by mediocrity. And the difference is that someone thought they could when we thought we couldn't. Right. And I think we specifically as Black women tend to feel like, oh, I'm not qualified enough. I'm not able to do that. Oh, no. Well, let me just sit back. And I think what we need to do is not put any limitations. I think we need to be more discerning in who we have around us, discerning in what we spend our time doing, discerning in how we spend our time. And committing things and making a commitment to ourselves, obviously our families, and a commitment to developing and continuing to develop, right? My daughter went to Spelman. When she was graduating, I was like, oh, you have to go to this, and you need to do this. And she wanted to be a therapist. And she would just say things and I'm like, wow, you know what? I may need to sit down and let her do her, right? And there's a part of that, right? Like when we were growing up, not going into my age, but I'm not far behind Roderick. But think about it. When we grew up, we were supposed to be seen and not heard. If our parents said this, we were like, done. We didn't question. we're at a place where question. If you don't understand, commit yourself to continuous learning. Commit yourself to, nothing's, well, I'm not going to say nothing's a stupid question, but you know what I mean. I think it's important to know your worth and to just keep moving forward. And being knocked down is not a negative.
Exactly.
You got to be knocked down in order to come back up.
That's stronger.
Yeah, I mean, and it does. I think that everything I've ever gone through,
you got to be able to fall to know how to stand up.
Right. You have to. And that's just fair. So I think that's, like I said, there are people who will say like, oh, well, Monique, you did this with, and wow, your daughter, she went this, she has her master's and she did all of these things. But I did have an amazing support system. And I was committed to growing with her. And I definitely put education first. And that was that. As it pertained, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And as it pertains to, obviously, you will be seeing. I have an IG page which I will send out, and a website and everything else.
Yeah, please let people know.
I will. Yeah, we were working on that so that we could do this beforehand. So I will send the information out. But there'll be palm cards. I'm definitely speaking. I'll definitely be speaking at churches. And aside from this, I still am active in a lot of community events. I am part of a sorority. We do consistent events. We do
Which sorority is that?
I'm an Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Make that noise. Make that noise. I know we gotta go.
But like, for example, we have an HBCU college tour that we do every year. We take students from New York from DC to Atlanta so that they can see all the schools, because how else would they see HBCUs? You know what I mean? I work with.
Give you a shout out. I think he's connected with that as well. All right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Monique, we're gonna have to schedule to come back on a little bit later.
Yes.
Our executive producer is giving us notes, tell us that hey, our next guest is here. I'm glad.
But we thank you for being here, for sharing your light, for sharing your background, for encouraging our young Black females to keep striving, keep pushing, keep going, and to let them know that in spite of everything, guess what? You keep pushing, because
keep pushing.
You can be a judge as well. You can continue to perfect yourself. Just keep improving yourself so you can help improve the community. So
Amen.
Two comments before I go. Two statements, right? Not comments. So you don't need to respond to them. One of them you do need to respond to. When is the election? Because we didn't discuss. I don't remember hearing that.
She said November.
No,
right?
no. November is the general.
Is the general. So there's a primary, which would be June 27th. If I have a challenge, then I would be on that ballot for the primary, which would be on June 27th.
So let's make a date. April, May, you'll be back. So make sure Andre speak with that. And I just want to give you a nice little shout out from one of our listeners, and then we let you go. And make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and get people out there to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a goal of 1,000. So goal of 1,000. That just want to say this comment, and then we let you go. She wrote, I think more people should listen to this program more. They're missing a lot, and that's because of you. So I just want to say thank you.
And there's one more comment in there. I would like to reach out to you to see if there is an opportunity in the court system to perform 50 hours pro bono legal work with you. It would be great to assist in that area. How can someone reach you?
I'll connect that person to you. I know who it is.
Perfect.
Okay. So you can reach me. But I will also, what I will do is once I have everything set up, I will send you that information in an email. So if anybody does have any interest in court system, even the HBCU, I will keep you involved and informed of just things that are happening in the community that maybe they want their children to come to, just any of the things that I participate in outside of the judgeship piece.
Yes, like
Right.
the tours. Yes, yes.
Thank you
Okay.
thanks for making my 11 proud.
Okay, wait, one more thing. Sorry. I also work with a nonprofit called I Am Cultured, and we actually take inner city youth from the community that's never been outside of the country. We get them passports and we go to different communities. The students have gone, I'm Caribbean, my parents are from St. Martin, so I traveled, and exposure is important. So the kids, they started in Cuba, and they've also gone to Ghana. They're going this year, they're going to Egypt, they've gone to Costa Rica, they've gone to Colombia. And so each year we try and take
What
students.
happened to Guyana? What happened to Guyana? What happened to Guyana? What happened to Guyana?
Well, what had happened was, no.
Well, go away, John. We got to go. We got to get to the next guest.
Anyway,
Come back,
listen,
Monique.
it's on the list. It's on the list, John. You
All
give send me why go to Guyana.
All
All right, you got it.
Thank you
care.
so
All right.
much for joining
You're
us.
welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Monique.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Andre, commercial and the next guest.
Hey, crew, I got to stop out. I'll call y'all later.
All right, no problem.
All right.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Brian. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Please.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah, welcome.
What kind of Jamaican name that you have, my youth?
It's a Jamaican name. Both my mother and father was born in Jamaica. I was born here, first generation, but I spent a lot of time in my yard. My name comes from the place my father grew up in called Brian Peace. It's over by 9 Turns in Clarendon.
How close is that to Maypin and Moko and them?
Very close. Very close. A country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clarendon.
My wife come from Chapelton or Stapleton or Chapelton or, but Moko she come from poor parts of Milk River. Go ahead. You're just vexed because you're not Jamaican.
So, Brian, introduce yourself to our listeners, please. You guys can have that side conversation after, but introduce yourself to our listeners.
How you doing? I'm Brian. I'm co-owner or co-founder as well of Norin, which is a luxury home fragrance and scent marketing company. We specialize in ambient scenting, in mood enhancing and boosting and setting of scents and fragrances and memories.
Awesome, but you run that with somebody, right? Who's that somebody?
Yes. I am.
Where is she?
I am co-founder, so that means there's another one, and she is my daughter, who's 8 years old right now.
Oh, where is the little princess? Is she gonna join us?
Oh, not tonight. She actually is in bed right now. She has school in the morning. So, yes, next time I'll make sure that she stays up a little bit longer.
Okay.
So, few questions. You explain. Well, it's funny. In talking to you today, right? A friend of mine who's also Jamaican, is getting interviewed for a newspaper, and there are 6 questions on the interview. So I know that we have a series of questions that we're going to ask you. We're going to ask you those too, but sometimes we deviate just a little bit. I'm sure hopefully Andre was able, or Sophia was able to talk to you about that. Since time we don't really go into all the questions of that. But my first question that I want to start off with is, you're an entrepreneur, right? Mm-hmm. You have one of the best opportunity to be directly Caribbean and directly American, right? You're both, right? Just like the new governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Directly both. Okay. So my question to you is, think about it as an immigrant, non-immigrant America. How do you look at your role in our community, in both categories? How do you look at yourself? I have so many things to ask you, but I want to start off there.
In what aspect? My role in what aspect?
As in, what is your portrayal? What is the drive, the zeal, the different things that you might, come across, all those things, the inspirations, the aspirations, along those lines?
So yeah, my drive is I don't know. It's just in me. So I've always been self-motivated as a kid, and I always wanted to build and show my community, like, what is it to do something. So I'm also an educator. I originally, when I went to college, I was information system computer science. I took a few history classes and learned about different things that I did not learn in grammar school, I did not learn in high school, and I felt compelled to go and teach, right? The next person, or the people out there like me, all these things that I did not know. So that's when I switched my major to education and in history. And I teach as well. So I want people, and I want those kids to know everything that they were not traditionally taught in a textbook.
Where did you go to school?
College or high school?
College.
Oh, I went to Stony Brook, University of Stony Brook in Long Island. In high school, I went to McKee Staten Island Tech.
Okay.
I beat them in wrestling. That's all I need to say. The Staten Island part, because I wrestled in high school.
For what school?
My high school team that I coached beat them, but I went to high school in Amherst, Mass, like right next to UMass.
Okay.
But I went for 1 year. I went to Lafayette, but I taught at South Shore High School in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay, South Shore. Yeah, I played football as well, so we played them in football.
Yeah, and we beat you there too.
What is this? What is wrong with him?
Let me tell you
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, let me tell you something. In Brooklyn, I went to school in again Staten Island, but in Brooklyn football wasn't. We used to tear y'all up.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, let's get back to Entrepreneur, because this is going to be a whole rival.
By the way, the school that Brian, the school I was AP, I'm not even listening to Dr. Brian, but the school I was AP at, we were undefeated Brooklyn champs. So we had kids from Staten Island, Erasmus.
So we're moving on. We're moving on to adulthood. Okay, leave the past in the past. Okay,
you know what happens? Why she jealous, Brian? She didn't play no high school sports.
I am not
she missed
jealous.
the camaraderie of the high school sports and what that means. So that's why she want to move on, because she missed.
Anyway,
didn't know
Brian,
high school sport.
How did you get started in the journey of entrepreneurship?
Man, when I found out I was having a daughter, I wanted to build something with her. I wanted a legacy to leave. I wanted to have something I could do with her. Look at all these companies. These companies were built by, the ancestors or whomever it may be for those particular people now, Johnson & Johnson, all these companies, they were built, right? And I wanted to do that. I wanted to leave that for my daughter and build for the community and actually expose them to the whole world of scenting and olfactive scenting.
One of the things that we speak about on this show a lot is generational wealth, right? And what that looks like for individuals, young people and old people and older people alike. And I literally just started my company, Daily Enterprises, and the World Domino Federation, to try to leave things on for the children. I think that one of the things that we miss out on as Blacks, I don't like the term African American, so I'm going to say Blacks, right? I think either you're American or you're not. But so Blacks, for me, that we missed out on is the opportunity for generational wealth and not working for people, but having people work for us. And so what was that like in terms of your aspiration to leave that legacy behind? What was that something that came across your mind?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And that's the same thing. I taught economics as well in school. And that's just like that's what it is. Like, again, that gap is huge between the Black community and a lot of other communities. And a lot of people, they want to move and they want to act or spend like they're like it's been the same, like the whole level of growth, and we all had an equal playing field from the start, in which it's not. So we can't move like that. So everybody have to make someone in a generation or someone in a family history has to make that sacrifice, and where they know that it's bigger than them. They know that I'm doing it for the family I'm doing for my community, they have to make that sacrifice. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age when no one wants to make that sacrifice. Everybody said, you know what? I can't take that money with me to the grave, so I'm going to spend and do whatever.
Say that again. People are selfish. They're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about the here and now. And guess what? If you don't put things in place, guess what? It's going to crumble.
And we're going to continue. We're going to continue to start all over. We're going to continue to start all over. And another, there's one thing, and I saw this, and this is what I noticed. So when I first came out of college, of course, I had obtained my first job. A lot of people, or a lot of my colleagues, were buying their house, with just buying their house already first year out, and buying these houses that I couldn't even, like, man, how you affording that? Because we make the same, and how you affording that? They didn't pay for it. Their family gave them that whole help and put that down payment on the house.
Yes.
That's what happens. And so that's why when these housing prices or certain price, they're like, hey, how can someone afford that? I'm making this amount of money and I still can't afford to be in that house because of that whole help and that whole donation or loan from, your family for it.
Certain communities prepare for that. Some certain communities prepare for that. And unfortunately, a good portion of our community don't prepare for that because of, hey, just coming in as an immigrant, setting up camp. That's hard because it takes a while for you to get on your feet and to build something. But then when you have people who've been here, they're not looking towards the future. They're living in the present. So commend you for thinking, hey, you know what? I'm about to have a daughter. I want to leave a legacy. So big up to you for that. There is a question that one of our listeners, is your business completely virtual? If so, is that because you have no interest in brick or mortar or because of lack of affordable space? Which one?
So again, just to give you an insight on my business. So again, we sell products, we make fragrances and put it in different products. And we also do scent marketing. A lot of people don't really know about scent marketing. That is where we go to a space, we talk to a business or whomever it may be. If they want us to scent their space, if they want a signature scent, we do that. We come up with it. Our fragrances is shown to actually boost the mood of whatever you're looking for in that particular space. Easy way to put it, when you go to those hotels or businesses and you're walking, like, wow, it smells good in here. That's what we do for establishments. So we could do that for businesses in the commercial space and also in the residential space.
But I think her question has to do more with manufacturing, right? Not the space that you utilize, but more the manufacturing of your product. Do you have like a home base to manufacture, and then people need to come to your page? How do you manufacture? How do you get your product out?
Yeah, so I get my product out. I have a warehouse that I make my product at as well, and also I make it at home. And to get back to your question, I know you said brick and mortar. Yes, a lot of that is due to economic reasons where I'm not able to get that whole big space where I could do large manufacturing act. So I work with what I have and I make the best of it, and I'm continue to scale as I go on.
Okay, fair enough.
Shark Tank, here we come.
Pardon?
Shark Tank, here we come.
No, actually, Shark Tank, they actually take a chunk of your business, and it's just I'm doing it, and I want them coming for me. I'm not gonna go for them.
Well, they give you a large. I mean, I don't know the show, but from what I understand, they do take a chunk of your business, but they give you a lot of head start opportunities, whether it's investment or whether it's branding, whether it's marketing, whether it's production, any of those things. That's my understanding. So yeah, you get a guy might say, I'm taking 35% of your business, but at the same time, that 35% is going to bring you 35 million, right? So am I looking at small change and say, well, I want to hold on to, that's my understanding of it. And I could be wrong because you probably did your more research than I did. Do I want to hold on to that 35%, or do I want to take that
a leap of faith and just
multiply it this much. Because normally, if I hold on to the 35%, I'm gonna make $100,000. But if I give up the 35%, I'm gonna make $35 million. And that makes a difference in terms of what is happening. I don't know the answer, but it's just something that I when I see it, my wife and I watch it a lot. And that's
so. Oh, so
I
someone
had a
said,
question. Wait, Doc. I had a question. I want to go back to what something you were talking about, what Dr. Bryant brought up, and I don't want to skip over what she just said and make it not a real comment, right?
Mhm.
When you think about generational wealth and what we're doing, and we fail the fail concept and leaving things for our children, you're doing something that people need to talk about, which is making the sacrifice for the next generation. My rule of thumb for all of my 5 children is none of my 5 children, I never remembered them coming to me in a dream before they were born and say, Daddy, impregnate mommy. Or they go into mommy and say, Daddy, make daddy impregnate you so that we can be born. Right? So mommy and I decided that we wanted to have children. So in that decision, we are responsible to make certain sacrifices. And that's missing a lot in the Black culture. They don't want to do wills. They don't want to do life insurance. They don't want to do investment. They don't want to do all of these things that would at least give their children a head start. And you're doing that, right? You're doing that to try to give your children a head start. You know, one of the questions, remember I told you about the questions with the Caribbean community, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of those questions is, it's get a job. It's not important about what kind of job you're getting. So you're stuck and doomed to repeat the cycle. So I just want to, that's also an important conversation. I don't know, some of these things when we talk, we overlook them and see the relevance of what we're doing and what we're saying. And teaching the other thing that you're doing with your daughter, and what is that like? Teaching economics, not economy, but economics and financial responsibility.
Oh yeah, so financial literacy, that's actually a great bonding experience with her, because I wasn't taught that at my age. That's something I had to learn, and I learned that way after. So again, I want to give her a head start, and that's what we should be doing. Like, I don't want her to like, oh, she'll find out on her own. No. Why have her do that when I have that information and have that knowledge, and I should share? And I just don't share with her. I share with other people if they want to ask. But again, that's my daughter. So she right there firsthand. So she's going to know. I want her to be better than me. Like, when people say, hey, daddy, I want to be just like you. No, I want you to be better than me.
Exactly.
Don't be just like you. Right. So that's what it is. And that's getting back to what you were saying in the community. That's something that we all should be talking about, right? We, again, building each other up, supporting each other. That's something we'll all be talking about. And growing up, I was told the same thing. You go to school, you get out of school, you get a job, and you work and you do this. Right? The whole get a job. We have been operating in survival mode in this world and this country for far too long. That's survival mentality, to get a job just to make it. Right? I don't want her to make it. I want her to flourish. I want her to be able to
thrive,
and not being able to, say, hey, I need this because of the money. No, I want to be like, okay, I don't like this. I'm going to walk away. I want her to work a job, not for the money, but for the experience.
Exactly.
And the growth, right? Like leaving a mark, right? Like you're a teacher, you want to leave a mark. You are a business person, you want to leave a mark. The other thing that I think about, I might not be able to do it. I could do it somewhat now, but it took me a while to be able to get there. For her to be able to step into that room and people are like, who's that? I need to know that person. I need to meet that person. And you set in that stage at young. Hey, like you said, I was looking at something years ago. Paris Hilton never worked a day in her life. When I was looking at her net worth, a couple $1 billion. I said, what? She never worked a day in her life.
Legacy.
That's the Hilton family money.
The Waltons. Every Walton, for those of you who don't know Walmart, the Walton.
$50 million.
No, 50 million. They were
I'm sorry, billion,
$60
but they were
billion
given,
dollars
$1 billion. Yeah.
$60 billion each.
Mhm.
The Koch brothers,
Mhm.
right? These are all people. So people, there are money out there. When you look at the African American, we don't see many black people. Actually, we don't see any black people on that list, Americans on the billionaires list, who are billionaires because of legacy. We don't see any at all. None.
That's
right?
because it's not put out there. There is some.
No, there's none. Not billionaires. We might have millionaires, but we don't have billionaires because of legacy.
Oh yeah.
So you know, that's what you. And if we could do it from now, leaving that child with a couple billion, like you said, the hope is to make them stronger and better.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that you tell us a little bit more? Are you a public school teacher now, or you focus on the business?
Okay, so I'm going to take it back to what you were saying about you don't see legacy billionaires. Okay, you could have, right? You could have. It was destroyed. Remember, in the 1920s, right? Per capita over in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a lot of people don't even know about these communities. They were millionaires already. Millionaires. Now imagine if that would have continued to this day and age. Though they would have been billionaires.
Of course.
And that's just one community. Go to Rosewood. That's another one, right in Florida. There's several of them. Okay. The quickest way to keep somebody under your control or to keep them lost is to erase their history.
There you go. And that's what Florida's trying to do.
That's what they're doing. Like, again, I'm going to bring it here. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, right?
Game of Thrones I've seen, not House of Dragons.
Yeah, House of Dragons is a new one. So there was one quote in there that got me that actually, like, wow, that means so much. So, you know, his wife clearly had 3 kids and none of the kids were his, right? This is one of the, kids of the house, right? One of the prince, right? None of the kids was his. Everybody knew that she was having an affair and had kids by the guard, right? And the grandfather, right, said, it doesn't matter. In the history books, they have my last name. They have our last name. They're from our family lineage. In the history books, that's what it's going to show. It's not going to show anything. It's going to show that they came from our family, and whatever they go on to do, it's our last name and it's our family. Right? That shows you how important history is.
And that's a very, very valid point. That's why I added my business name is Daily Enterprises. Before I forget, also JL, the person that's talking to you as well, she has her own business. Hey Jordan. Oh, thank you, Jordan. You joined us a little late, but thank you. That's Jordan. That's your previous guest daughter. JL does she's a certified management accountant as well. So if you need the business component, she can help you with that as well, to help you navigate maybe the system that you want to do. That's a free plug, JL. Just thought I'd tell you that. So she's very useful with those things. So, you know,
one thing, a question towards you. No, for you, Mr. Daly, right? A lot of people don't notice. If you notice, kudos, right? The richest man ever to exist in the history of this world. You know who it was?
The history of the world?
History of the world.
Mansa Musa.
Do you know approximately what his net worth was or would have been?
Today's?
Yes, today's money.
Billion.
What happened?
Close to 700 billion.
Close to 5 trillion. Trillion. The man controlled the salt trade. He single-handedly decreased the value of gold for 10 years because when he went on his Hajj, he gave gold out to every person he saw and single-handedly decreased the value of gold for 10 years. So the richest person ever to exist in this world, right, of course, was a black person. But again, a lot of you go there and a lot of you go into the schools and a lot of kids don't even know that.
You know, a lot of people know Mansa Musa. I'm not going to say they don't. They do know it because it's in the history book when you're doing global studies and the likes. But they don't know what you just said, the power of Mansa Musa. So like they look at him as a great warrior, a great king. But in terms of what he did for the African community and how it was wiped out, right? It was another issue. Another great ruler. He wasn't a great ruler. He was just a rich ruler. Was King Tutankhamun. Most people hear of this guy and they didn't realize how rich he was. And he was only a king for a very short period of time, but they only know about his gold. But he was actually one of the richest persons in the world as well. So people have to know that in your African history, if you go back and study, we were, and if we were not raped and pillaged, rummaged through, we still will be worth a lot. I think I was just watching something talking about the gold and the diamonds that they go in there, and we ourselves, you know what? Let's go back. We sell each other out. We sell each other out because we follow. Oh, I can make $1. I'm not working together so that I can make $2. I'd rather stay with my dollar.
But you know what? It goes further back than that.
We do
it
that.
Goes from slavery time where you're selling one tribe to another, and hey, if you don't follow, so it goes way back than that. So that mentality never broke.
Yeah, there's many layers to that.
I know we off a little bit of a tangent, but that's part of the lack of vision. And the white man came in, right, and noticed that we are divided, not united, and capitalize on that, on our own greed. So our greed is not just from today, something that's within us from a long time. And then we couple that with slavery and Rosewood.
But it was before the white man. We were doing that way before that.
Wait, Brian, I'm talking about like from the tribal perspective. Because remember, when tribes were against tribes, they weren't united. It's their little hub here, right? Whereas the King of England sent people and they represented England. They're not representing like Buckingham, and they're not representing London, and they're not represented Norwood. They're representing England, so it's a larger scale. And that's part of the problem.
And again, there's a lot of misconception in that, because that's you assuming that all of Africa was made up of tribes alone. No, Africa had civilizations,
right?
Not just tribes. So not just tribes, civilizations. And way before, if you want to go way back, that capitalism, that greed, that was something that was taught, right? Because what happened is that during the border system,
trade and everything,
during the border system, everybody worked the land to live on the land. Everybody, did what they had to do, and it fed the community, right? A civilization had to have 9 characteristics, and people did that, right? Artisans to feed the community. Greed was something
do you know off the top of your hand what the 9 characteristics are? That's a good question. If you know all of them off the top. I mean, sometimes we forget things on the spot, so I don't know if you know all of them off the top.
Yeah, I'll put it on the spot there. So I know you have to have a surplus of food. There's skilled workers. There's oh man.
You could always come back and share that with us, because that's putting on the spot is great. But
I know. Sometimes I know I the ability to provide shelter, to provide economics and growth, right? Provide reproduction possibilities for protection would be another one of those things that you need to do. I don't know all 9 myself, so I don't want to make anybody think I know all 9. I don't.
No, I know. I don't have the history thing on right now. So, but I know one of the biggest one is a surplus of crops.
Okay. So I have a question. What challenge, if any, have you faced doing your business right now?
Getting the name out there and having people take a chance and trust, right? Because people are going to go with the brand name. People are going to go with what they know instead of like, hey, this person could actually be better, but they're not going to take that risk and take that chance. You're going to go with the name that's already out there because that's something that they know already. So just competing with the bigger company. The space that I am is a very niche space, and not a lot of people per se, especially Black people, are in that space. And it's ran by, just large corporations. So I'm just trying to get out there in my community and show them like the power of what I'm doing or what we're doing, and how it could benefit and how you could utilize this, because again, a lot of companies and a lot of businesses utilize this type of experience, the whole psychology behind scent marketing, because 30%,
even in real estate, of course.
Yeah, real estate. 30%, and even in recruiting in college, 30% of what you smell, you remember. It's the strongest ties to memory, yet you do not see it. Right? That's why you could smell something that remind you of your childhood, that bring back childhood memories.
Of
right?
course.
These certain types of scent will evoke and trigger certain types of emotions from you. And this is something that is known, but it's not known in our community, in largely in our community, and how it's done.
Now,
when did you start your business?
Officially, I had one business with my daughter, and where we started out with candles, but then I wanted to get bigger, because I saw that candles was just one thing. My daughter has a passion. She loves smelling good, and she has style, and she likes to have something smell a certain way in a certain space. Right. Okay. And me personally, like not just fragrances that I have, but like I appreciate all types of fragrances. I have over 600 perfumes. Right. My daughter, she takes it. My daughter likes to pick out my scent for me when I'm going out. So she's like, all right, Daddy, can I pick your scent? She picks a scent for me. And she's like, all right, you know what scent I like? Before I used to pick hers. And then she's like, you know what scent I like? But I had to kind of redo things, because the scent that she liked, which was, of course, one of my bottles, was a $600 bottle. So we had to, like, an 8-year-old
tone it down.
Yeah, exactly. 7, 8-year-old have a $600 bottle. So we're going to give you something, that smells very similar, but you have that. But nonetheless, she has free and options and just all leeway to all my scents and my fragrances. But she has the thing I give her, she has style with hers as well. So, again, being a co-founder, when we create our scents and when we're coming up and curating something, especially for any business or just for the direct to consumer that we put in our product, that for retail, she has to approve it. We both have to approve it.
Oh, that's cute. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Where are you based?
Brooklyn, New York.
Where can people reach you? That's important.
So you could reach me again. I have my website. We have our website, nor-yan.com. We're also on all the social medias.
Repeat that again. NOR
dash. Y. Yeah, dash.
Okay, NOR dash
YAN .com.
Okay.
It's pronounced Norrin.
Norrin. Okay. Okay.
Right.
I know you're probably like, why you have the dash in there?
Combination of names?
Yes. So it is, of course, Norah and Brian. And so I'm very big into, meaning. So our logo, everything means something. So again, our name, Norrin, means a symbol of love. And it is a combination of my daughter's name and my name, and it actually means something. So, and then the N and the Y in it is for New York.
Okay. All right.
So Andre just fixed that. It's Norrin, one word, right? Noryan.com, one word.
So it's NOR-YAN.com, but the name is one word. I put a dash in it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I put a dash in there because someone tried to hold the regular website hostage and wanted me to pay $10,000 for it.
Okay,
that makes sense. I just created a website. They're trying to do the same thing. So the 9 rules of civilization, characteristics of civilization. You have accountable learning, arts, government, religion, economics and job speculation, systems of tribute, or legacy, bringing that long historical component. You have food and
surplus,
and then you have plant infrastructure, trade. Those are the 9. So ways to stay survival. Brian, I want to thank you for this opportunity, man. I bid you all the success, right? Bid you all the success in terms of what we're doing. This is my 8-year-old. Well, he's not 8 yet. He's going to tell me he's not 8. Right? He's our next CEO of Daily Enterprises, looking right
There
here.
you go.
So we're working on that. He's wearing his
Have
button.
those, yeah, you have those labels become very common to them, so they know what it is.
Yes, So looking forward to it. And thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us this evening, and greetings to your little princess. And maybe next time she could join us.
Yes, of course, definitely. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for the opportunity to come on here and talk and relate and talk about scenting.
Yes,
and we have to
make sure to reach out to the village, and then we will reschedule you for another time as well.
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Again, any questions? You could go to the website or you could go to the social media pages.
All right, not a problem.
All right,
thank you again.
God bless. All right, good night.
All right,
thank you. Bye-bye. So Roderick, just so you know, we are all right. Here we go. So we did not get to touch our topics, but there's so much happening. I just want to quickly run before we do. I love what we heard this evening because it ties into what's happening around us. Once parents get involved, once parents start infusing that education, that love, they're actively active in their children's life and surrounding them with positive things to do, guess what? They stay out of trouble. And if you notice something wrong, you get them support and some help. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for being a part of our community and learning how we can continue to be a part of a bigger community, which is out here. So please look out for each other. Let's establish some things. Let's look back at history and create some new beginnings for us. Again, shout out to all the birthday people. Be safe out there. Continue to celebrate, live life, and enjoy. God bless you. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember that we are on the 1,000 person march for our YouTube subscriber. So if you have not done that, I see a couple of you on Facebook. If you need the link for YouTube, just let us know. Patricia, that's why it's beautiful. If you have YouTube, you can just go back to the link and just as a subscriber, you just get it right away. And it's up. The Village Radio Talk Show, right on YouTube. Subscribe and like our page, right? Help us to get the Village Radio Talk Show. And that's the YouTube link that's up. Thank you, Sherry Ann, for the birthday wish. Thank you, everybody, for the birthday wish. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hey, Jalen, good luck.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, sharing, viewing, listening, participating in the Village Radio Talk Show. I am your host, Roger F. Daly, brought to you by our co-host, John Sampson and Dr. Joanne Bryan. Shout out to our executive producer, Andre Dolman, and our producer, Sophia Willisey. God bless each and every one of you, where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any point, at any age, starting from today, where success is not just spoken, it is done. God bless each and every one of you. And again, subscribe to our page. The Village Radio Talk Show, you could just search it. It will come right up on YouTube. The Village Radio Talk Show. It will come right up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, good night.